the shadows, bound for the gallows, a dead man walking, till love came calling. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. 6 feet under, I thought it was over, and answered a prayer, the voice of a savior. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. All at once I came alive, this beating heart, these open eyes, the grave let go, the darkness should have known. You're still rolling stone, you're still rolling stones.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name's Teresa Leach Simon. I've been a member here about 25 years. And what I love about our church is the people. When you run into someone downtown or in Brantford, it's just wonderful. People are always so happy to see you and asking you about your family and friends. The prayer chain is amazing. If there's an issue with any of your families, you can reach out to Joel or anyone else in the church community, and they will put you on a prayer chain list to pray for you. And they mean it. When they put your name on there, they are ferociously praying for you, and it's a wonderful community outreach that we have here. A couple of things to tell you about this summer. We're having our annual school campaign. So in your summer travels, if you're shopping and you see things on sale, we're looking for glue sticks, backpacks, school snacks, anything that you can donate to give to the kids, hopefully that they go back to school this September, and they'll have some fresh supplies that will help out some of the children that are going back into school. The second thing is our annual general meeting is Thursday, July the 16th. If you're interested in attending or would like the link to the general meeting, the email address is below, so please send a message and they'll get you added to the list. Let's start off our Sunday with some singing by Wanda, and I think we have a few surprises in the singing categories either this week or next week coming up, where the praise team has gotten together. So enjoy the summer weather. I know it's hot, but we looked for this in January and it's here. These summer evenings, it's 9 o'clock at night here. It's absolutely beautiful out, and to sit out on the front porch with a tea or beverage of choice, enjoy the weather, because we have waited a long time for this. So have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Those only roads that I have traveled on.
for your faith in his excellent word. What more can we say than to you he has sent, to you that for refuge to Jesus has fled. Fear not, I am with thee, oh be not dismayed. I am thy God, and will still give thee aid. I'll strengthen thee, help thee, and cause thee to ascend, upheld by my righteous, omnipotent hand. The soul that on Jesus hath leaned for repose, I will not desert to his foes. That soul, though all hell should endeavor to shake, I'll never, no, never, no, never forsake.
Welcome. It's great that you are joining us. Whether you have been following us for a long time or perhaps this is your first time with us, it's great that you've jumped on. Maybe someone has shared a link with you, or maybe you've just been kind of scrolling through Facebook or jumped on YouTube and you have found us. Either way, it's great that you are jumping on with us today. We're beginning a new series that is based on a phrase that I know I've been saying more often in the last number of months, and perhaps you've been saying it or you've heard others say it. And the phrase is simply this: back to normal. Is that something that you've been saying more often than not? The idea that as more restrictions have been placed on us, or as things are no longer being allowed to happen, you say, you know what, I can't just wait until we get back to normal. Or maybe as this has now gone on for a number of months, you're starting to come to this realization of we may never be getting back to normal. And so as I've been thinking about that, I've been focusing upon the word normal. And I think normal can be defined in different ways for different people. But I think oftentimes I wonder, what does it mean to live the normal life? And to push a little bit further, does normal sometimes become a bit of a distraction? Something that prevents us from fully living life. When I think about faith, when I think about living life with God, what does he want for us? One of my favorite lines of Jesus that is found in the Gospel of John is when he says, "This is why I've come, so that you may have the abundant life." Now, when I think of what Jesus says when he speaks of abundance, it doesn't really resonate with me, this pursuit of normal, of just living this comfortable life, this normal life. And so for the next number of weeks, actually it's going to carry us through the entire summer, we're going to focus on a series called Back to Normal, beginning to unpack what does it look like to live life according to the way that Jesus desires us to live. Is it normal? Should we be pursuing normal? Or is there something else, something more challenging, but something infinitely greater that Jesus wants us to pursue? That's what this series is going to be about. And so regardless of who you are, regardless of where you are when it comes to faith, I think this is a series for all of us. Because if you're someone who's still kind of exploring faith, kind of kicking the tires on what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus, this is going to be a great series to help you look at some practical realities of what it means to follow Jesus. Or perhaps you're in the camp of you've been a follower of Jesus, but life seems a little normal. Life seems a little bit too comfortable. And you're not really experiencing that abundance that Jesus offers for us. Here's the reality, I think. And the reality is this, is that when we think about life with Jesus, it begins to step beyond just the reality of going through the motions. It becomes even more than just, well, I am believing the right things. So often Jesus is asking us, well, are you living the right way? That's what this series will be about. And so to help us kind of navigate the next number of months, we're going to go to a place in the Gospel of Matthew, probably one of the most comprehensive and straightforward teachings of Jesus. It spans 3 chapters, and it's often referred to as the Sermon on the Mount. It's Matthew chapter 5 to Matthew chapter 7. The Sermon on the Mount is relatively straightforward. It's at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, and he's actually with his disciples, those that are closest to him, and he sits down on the hillside, and he begins to teach them. Some would say this was probably a collection of teachings, that this wasn't just a one-time sit down, but that this was over a period of teachings. But it's right at the beginning where Jesus' notoriety is beginning to increase. More and more people are hearing about him and are beginning to flock to him. In part because of his teaching. We're told he's going from town to town, synagogue to synagogue. But I would say even more than that, it's because of the miracles he's performing, the healing of the sick, the casting out of demons. And when you start to do stuff like that, you get people's attention. And then something very significant happens. Jesus sits down with his followers and begins to teach them, begins to tell them about what it's going to look like to truly follow him. This is what I so appreciate about the Bible, is that when we allow it to begin to become a part of our lives and not keep it at arm's reach, it can begin to impact us. It can begin to guide us so that faith becomes a part of life. Not just simply something we think about on occasion, but following Jesus becomes the reality, becomes the center of everything that we do. And so let's jump in. We're going to turn to Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to begin at verse 3. But before I read, I want to ask you a question. If you were to describe the blessed life, what would you say? If you were to pray that God would bring a blessing upon your life, what would you ask for? Because in a moment, we're going to see what Jesus has to say about a blessed life. And spoiler alert, it's not the normal we'd often be thinking of. And so maybe you want to take some time. If you're with others, kind of have a chat around what does blessing look like in the midst of life? And then jump back in and take a look at what Jesus has to say. I'm not sure if you actually had the conversation or you just kind of sat with me during that momentary awkward pause, but either way, thank you, appreciate it. Now we're going to jump into the passage. Matthew chapter 5, beginning in verse 3. And these are the words of Jesus, where he says this: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." I'm not sure if you're familiar with that list that Jesus gave. Maybe you are, or maybe you're not. But imagine for a moment if you were one of those disciples with Jesus on the hillside, that you are hearing this for the very first time. That when you begin to think of what does it mean to be blessed? What does it mean to be blessed by God? I'm not necessarily sure that what Jesus said would have come immediately to my mind. Actually, I think if I was there, I would be the guy in the back kind of nudging someone else, being like, is this legit? Or almost want to put your hand up and say, Jesus, like just hold on for a moment. Like what about blessed are those that are healthy? What about blessed that are those that achieve success? What about blessed that are those who never lose their jobs? What about blessed that are those that never have brokenness in the midst of relationship? What about blessed are those, and the list could go on and on and on. Like, Jesus, what are you talking about? Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are those who mourn. I mean, last time I checked, when you mourn, it's over something that has gone wrong. It is over a sense of grief. It's over a sadness. And so, Jesus, what are you getting at? And I think this is when we begin to see that what Jesus desires for us is not the normal reality of life, but something far greater. Something that is going to push us and stretch us beyond normal, beyond comfort. But if we truly want that sense of abundance, we have to take that step of faith. And so what is Jesus talking about? As I go back and I continue to read through this list, I see two key principles, two key realities that not only begin to surface in this teaching of Jesus, but begin to surface throughout his entire ministry, throughout the reality of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. The first one is this, is that blessing is not based upon the external. Blessing is not based upon what happens to me, but rather what is going on inside of me. You see, so often we think, and I fall in this camp as well, this idea of blessing is that if the external is going well, if I'm healthy, if I'm successful, if I have financial means, if I have all the bells and whistles, then we look at people who seemingly have it all together on the outside and think they must be blessed. But Jesus is saying something opposite, something almost counterintuitive, where he's beginning to say blessing is not based upon what is going on around you. Yeah, that may provide happiness, but ultimate blessing is what is going on inside of you, what God is doing in you and ultimately through you. That's why Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the pure of heart. Blessed are those who pursue righteousness. This becomes a bit of a game changer, because then it means that even in times such as this, when normal has seemingly left the building and is not about to return anytime soon, we can still be blessed. It starts to change our entire perspective. To suddenly our prayers are not, God, change this circumstance so that I may become more comfortable, to suddenly landing in a place of, God, how are you going to use this circumstance to change me? Have you ever considered that blessing is not based upon what you have, but based upon knowing that God is with you and is at work in you? That's the first thing that I see from this list. The second thing that Jesus highlights, not only here, but throughout his entire ministry, is that blessing is then also not focused upon ourselves. Again, we live in a culture that thinks blessing is all about, well, who is serving me? How can I get mine? Whereas Jesus says ultimate blessing is not about focusing upon yourself, but focusing upon others. Did you see those other characteristics that Jesus used? He says, blessed are the meek. I don't know about you, but I think of meek and I think like doormat. I think, okay, Jesus, are you saying that if people run all over me? But there's something greater going on. I think Jesus is saying, blessed are those that are humble, that are willing to put the needs of others ahead of themselves. Or Jesus says, blessed are those who are merciful. What does that mean? One of the key teachings of Jesus is extending forgiveness, is giving up your right to retaliate or to get even. And Jesus says it right off the hop. Blessed are those that show mercy, for you will be shown mercy as well. And we start to see through this very initial teaching of Jesus of how blessing is not simply about, well, what can I get? But rather, how can I live my life for others? So what does this begin to look like? How does this become a reality? Because I know for me, this is not necessarily the comfortable place to be. This doesn't seem normal. So often, normal is when the focus is on me, or normal is when everything is going according to plan. But Jesus is saying something other. This past week, I was thinking about the time in my life where I was probably pushed outside of normal the most. Or to put another way, the time in my life where I experienced the most amount of change or I was asked to step out of my comfort zone. How would you answer that? What period of time in your life would you say was the time where you were forced out of your comfort zone the most? For me, and I would actually argue for you as well, it would be my childhood. It would be the first 7 years of my life. Now, as best as I can to remember it, but more specifically as I live it through my kids, and perhaps as you think about it with your kids or your life or your grandkids, you see this reality happening of how kids are changing constantly. How their parents or their teachers or their coaches or their grandparents are pushing them to step out of their comfort zone. And I know in my life and in my kids' life, it didn't always go easy. I think of one particular experience, that of riding a bike. If you're like me, you progressed, right? Tricycle, two-wheeler with training wheels, big bike, no training wheels, right? Was it seamless? Probably not. You got on that tricycle and you were loving life, you were rocking it down the driveway, and then suddenly mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever brought over the big bike with training wheels. You thought, okay, I can do this, but this is a little wobbly, not quite as stable. Then you start rocking it on the two-wheeler with training wheels and you are loving life. You look at the tricycle and think, I'm glad I'm not riding that bad boy anymore. But then the conversation comes of let's take off the training wheels. And you're like, back it up. This is not cool. I'm comfortable. I'm riding. I'm safe. I mean, you take off the training wheels, I lose balance. I could fall. This is not going to be good. I don't want to do it. This is not a good idea. Stop it right now. And how many of the parents say, you know what? Have at it. Don't worry about it. We'll just leave the training wheels on for the rest of your life. No, they eventually take it off. But they don't just kind of throw you out and say, sort it out on your own, good luck. Oh, by the way, don't hit the neighbor's car, right? They walk alongside you and they encourage you. They also kind of hold on to you. They make sure that you can get where you need to go. Because your parents know something that you didn't in that moment. And that is there is a better experience for you. That the training wheels are limiting you in terms of what you want to do. I'm pretty sure you jumped on this morning not to hear a bike lesson. But here's the carryover. Do you ever wonder if you have training wheels on your faith? That you get to a certain place, a certain level, and you think this is normal. This is comfortable. Jesus, I can believe certain truths about you. I can go to church or jump online and watch some guy talk about Jesus. I can give some money to charity. That's comfortable. That's normal. But please, Jesus, don't ask for more. Don't take off my training wheels. But that's what Jesus wants to do. You see, following Jesus is not about finding what is most comfortable and just staying there. Following Jesus is not about believing certain truths and then living life like everyone and anyone else. It's about taking these steps of faith. It's about willing to become completely dependent upon God. It's about offering forgiveness even when we don't want to. It's about stepping forward and pushing others ahead of ourselves, even when we'd rather be in the spotlight. The list could go on. But I think what we begin to see is that following Jesus, living this abundant life, is not about simply pursuing the comfortable life or the normal life. Jesus wants and has something far greater. But we need to begin to trust him and begin to follow him. And so what's our takeaway? No matter who you are, no matter where you are. Let me suggest a couple of things real quick. The first one is jump on with us again next week, as we're going to begin to unpack in real practical, tangible takeaway each week what it begins to look like to pursue Jesus and to step beyond our comfort zone. So we hope you'll tune in. Even better, invite someone else to come along with you. The second thing is take some time this week. Just read through some of these verses again. Maybe you have a Bible at home and you need to kind of brush it off and dust it off a little bit, or if you can't find your Bible, you don't have a Bible, jump on BibleGateway.com. You can find the verses there as well. And just allow these verses to speak into your life. To begin to see, Jesus, what are you asking of me? And then the third thing is to begin to look at your circumstances, not as a way that God needs to change in order to make you comfortable, but begin to ask, how can these circumstances be used by God to begin to change you? This begins the journey, not towards normal, not towards comfort, but towards transformation, towards living this abundant life that Jesus wants for you and for me. I know I can't get it there on my own. We need God to come alongside. And so before we conclude with one final song, let me pray. Lord Jesus, we are thankful again for the reminder of your great love for us. Jesus, I so appreciate that image of how you are our Father, the one who loves us, the one who cares for us, but the one who ultimately knows what is best for us. I would ask, Jesus, that we would be willing to take these steps of faith, to begin to view life not through the lens of this world, but through your eyes. To begin to see how real blessing comes not in simply what happens to us or around us, but what is happening within us. Help us to be responsive to those nudges. Help us to be willing to look to the needs of others ahead of our own. I know, Jesus, I can't do this on my own. I need the encouragement of your Holy Spirit. Just like that parent running alongside the youngster learning to ride a two-wheeler. Jesus, my prayer is that we take these training wheels off and we truly live life together. For we ask this in your name. Amen.
You put your love on the line to bear the weight of sin that was mine, washing my river of wrong into the sea, real and infinite love. With arms held high, Lord, I give my life, knowing I'm found in Christ, in your love forever. With all I am, in your grace I stand, the greatest of all romance, love of God, my Savior. Mercy rose like hurricane wind, furious love laid waste to my sin. With arms held high, Lord, I give my life, knowing I'm found in Christ, in your love forever. With all I am, in your grace I stand, the greatest of all romance, love of God, my Savior. To the one who has rescued my soul, to the one who has welcomed me home, to the one who is Savior of all, I sing forever. To the one who has rescued my soul, to the one who has welcomed me home, to the one who is Savior of all, I sing forever. With